Hi, this is Vicki with My Paper Connection. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I'm going to make this beautiful card. Isn't that pretty? I love this. You can see that I did some dry embossing, and then I die cut this awesome Eiffel Tower, and just made this really pretty card. I used the Parisian Beauty stamp set and the dies, and that comes from the 2020 Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. It is just chocked full of gorgeous things, and here is the Parisian Blossoms Suite. It has some beautiful paper and the embossing folder, ribbons, all sorts of things. It's just gorgeous. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you would like a catalog, be sure to contact me on my website, which is just up above, and just let me know that you would like to receive a catalog, and I'll be sure to get one out to you. Okay, without further ado, let's get started playing. The only stamping we're going to do on this card is on the very inside, and we're using basic gray, and we're just going to stamp. Let me try it first. Okay. We're going to stamp Follow Your Heart. It will take you to incredible places. It's a little bit slanted, but it'll be fine. I got it a lot slanted on this other side, so I had to start over. And then I'm going to use this postmark, and I'm going to stamp off once, and I'm going to place it right here in the corner. Then I'm going to take this other postal stamp, and I'm going to stamp it off as well, and then just place it right up in the corner. And that is all of the stamping that we're going to do. I'm using Pool Party, which is just such a beautiful bluish greenish color, and we're going to use this embossing folder. Look at the texture in that. Isn't that fabulous? So I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine and just emboss it. I also have these fabulous dies. Now when I made this card, I cut a more out in basic gray. And it didn't, I don't know, I wasn't real happy with it because it just didn't pop. So I ended up putting some Wink of Stella on it. What I want to do is cut a more out in the champagne foil. And I believe it will just kind of pop a lot better. And then I use basic gray for this. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I just wanted to show you, when you run your paper through the embossing folder, make sure that where the seam is at, that you run it with the fold going in first. Also, you'll notice that there is a little black line across here that tells you where to put your paper. And in this case, there was a definite pattern right here, so I wanted to make sure that went down the middle. So I just lined it up so that it was even, and then lined it up with this little line so that it was straight. And then you come out with that. Voila! Isn't that cool? I love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, the next thing that I did was to run the Eiffel Tower with basic gray, and then the other ones with the champagne. And I'm bringing in a little brush because there's lots of little cutouts and pieces in this, as you can tell. And some of them already came out, but a lot of them didn't. So you just put it on your little foam pad, and you just go on the back side of it like this with your little brush. And it helps those little pieces to come out. Whatever, oh, let me try that again. If there's some little tiny pieces that don't come out, you can take your pick tool or your paper piercer and get those out with it. And we also have a more. And another little trick that I did, you know, these embossing plates can get pretty natty, and so you don't want it to leave marks on your foil, and so I just put a little piece of paper over the top of it so that it would protect the surface of it, and then it ends up coming out really nice and pretty and smooth. Okay, so I'll get all these taken apart and we'll put our card together. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I was having trouble getting those little things out, and even with using my paper piercing tool, I was having trouble getting those little spots out. And I discovered it was because when I ran this one through, I ran it through by itself. When I ran the other one through, I ran it through with this as well, and it's a little bit different size. And I also put a piece of paper over it, and it really affected it. So just a little message for you, excuse me, a little tip for you. When you do this, run it through alone or with like cardstock. Don't run it through with foil or an extra piece of paper or whatever. Because when I ran another one, these little things just came out so easily. Remember how I struggled with it before? I couldn't even get them to come out with the paper piercing without tearing it. And they're almost completely out now. So lesson learned and passing it along. Okay, let's start putting our card together. So I'm just going to burnish my cardstock. And this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it at 5 1/2. But don't worry, all of the dimensions, measurements, supplies, everything will be listed on my in my blog. So I'm just going to take this, before I adhere it down, we're going to assemble everything. So I'm bringing in my silicone mat, and this is really good because it will keep glue from getting all over the place, which I am notorious with. And so I'm bringing this in. Look how lovely that is. And you can see these thick lines right in here. I want to put dimensionals on those. But still, some of these dimensionals are still, even though they're the tiny ones, they're the mini dimensionals, some of them are still too large. So this one will fit, but the others are a little bit too large for it. So what I'm going to do is just take my adhesive cutting scissors. These are the only ones that I use on glue type things. And I'm just going to trim it in half like that. Okay. Then I'm just going to take it and just line it in this thick line area because I want it to kind of stand up off the page a little bit. So we'll do it like that. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the backings off of these. And that was fiddly, I'll just tell you. It's not an easy thing to get those up. And you know what? You could just glue it straight down. I just wanted it to pop up a little bit off of this really pretty embossed surface. Okay, so now we're going to bring it down to the bottom and make sure you've got it nice and straight. And just put it in place. You want to make sure that you give enough room so that the spire on top of the Eiffel Tower doesn't go over the top of it. Then I'm going to take a little bit of Tombow and just glue this on. This is such pretty paper. Can you see? I know you can because it's probably blinding you. The foil that's on this. And this is the Pool Party with some petal pink, I think it is. It's just beautiful. It's like cherry blossoms. It's so, so pretty. And we're just going to center this. I probably should have done this first. So another thing to learn from me, put the paper on first before you put the Eiffel Tower on. Do what I say, don't do what I do, right? Okay. Now, the other thing, this little piece, I left it in place because I wanted to show you how to get it out. There's little holes all along the way with the these dies, and you can just poke your little paper piercing thing or whatever sharp object that you have that will go in there. And right in here you can see the little hole. If you push that, it will cause the die that's nestled, or the paper that got cut that's nestled inside of there, it will push it right out like that. Then you just grab it and gently pull it out. This is going to be a little bit more difficult to adhere down, and what I like to use for this, you could put it on this mat and use a sponge and use Tombow and just kind of do it, but the problem is when you do that with your sponge, it will lift it up. And you could also put Tombow right in those thicker areas and then tuck it in. I'm going to use the fine glue, fine tip glue. Is that what it's called? Yeah, fine tip glue pen. Let me move this out of the way. I can just see that being a disaster. So I'm just going to lay it down, and I'm going to use my tweezers on it. So I'm just laying it down. I'm just going to put a little glue in those areas. Okay, then I'm just going to take my tweezers, which it's always nice to have a good set of tweezers around. And I'm just going to take this and tuck it up under here, but I want these little flourishes to stick out. So we'll just do it like that. We're going to put the word amour, and you can actually use your Tombow on this because there's big enough or large enough thick areas that you can just kind of touch on those, and those areas will stick down. In my opinion, Tombow works better than the fine tip, except that when it's tiny, tiny little places like that, it's really hard to get the Tombow in there without really messing it up. And as I mentioned before, if you use the sponge on it, it will somewhat pick up as you're doing it because it's so fine and flimsy. Okay, again, I'm going to use my tweezers and I'm just going to put it in place. Figure out where you want it to be and put it in place. Just like, whoops, just like that. Okay, let's finish putting our card together. We're just going to put some glue on the back side back here. You know, I didn't have as much trouble putting that, the champagne foil on when I didn't have an audience. You know how that goes. You get on camera and your throat clogs up and your glue doesn't work and all of that fun stuff. All right, the last thing we're going to do is to put our embellishments on. So I'm using the crystal rhinestones, and I've been having trouble picking these up. Let me see if I can use the little spatula in, if that will help. I don't know. I've never had trouble getting these to lift up. Okay. So we'll put one over here. I don't know if it's the weather, because it's been very humid and sticky outside. It's just, ugh. We've had so much rain here in Georgia. And I think I'll put one over here, right there. And then the only thing left to do is to place the sentiment on the inside. I love this stamp set. It is so pretty. There we go. I think I like it better with the foil, although the foil is a little bit harder to get to stay down. I think it shows up more though. But I did put Wink of Stella on this first one so that it did shine a little bit more. But I think it's such a beautiful card. I hope you like it. I would love to see your creations. And I would love to hear your comments or any questions that you may have. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. If you ring the bell, then you'll also get notice of when my videos come out. Thank you for joining me. I'll be using the same stamp set on Saturday to create a fun fold. Except I won't be doing any die cutting. I'll just be doing stamping, and it's such a cute card. So make sure you check back on Saturday to see how you can dress down this Parisian stamp set. Thanks so much. Have a great day.